All right, we are live.
Okay. Welcome to the Finance and Claims Committee meeting for Thursday, March 11th, 2021, beginning at 7:05 p.m. And I'd like to start with calling the roll of the Finance and Claims Committee members. If you can reply with aye or present, I should say, for when you hear your name. So we, Council Member David Hooverman,
Present.
Council Member Tom Keegan,
Here.
Council Member Diane Revolus,
Here, but Diana, because it's a
Diana
typo here.
okay. Council Member George Theodoridis,
Here.
Council Member John Kides.
Here.
Council Member Nick Saccinelli has not joined the meeting as of yet. And I see we also have Council Member George Serenides, who is on the call, not member of the Finance Committee, but a member of the Common Council.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, we'll move into the agenda, which is item 3, which is the public participation. We have no emails that were submitted. Larry, do we have anyone from the public that wishes to speak?
We do not.
Okay, very good. So with that, I'll close public participation. And we'll move into item 4, which is approval of the minutes. And we have 4 minutes to approve, starting with the minutes from the February 11th, 2021 regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes? All right, Council Member Revolus approves, moves that motion. Do we have any additions, corrections, or deletions from those minutes?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. On it would be under item 4, approval minutes from January 14th. Just the spelling of my name is Heuvelman. Both of those moved the minutes and made one edit. And on the following page, underneath below motion to approve the refund requested passed unanimously. The second paragraph, midway through where it says Ms. Biagirelli, and it goes doing something, it should say said they are doing some other types of enforcement and working with Department of Health.
Okay, very
And then
good.
on the following page, again, there's a misspelling of my name in the second paragraph. Mr. Heuvelman asked about the tax sale. It's Heu.
Right, I have it up on the screen now.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Do we have any other changes? Yes.
Just under where we are attendees, just Diana, not Diane, for correction for my name. That's all.
Okay, great. And that's on this page. All right, very good.
And there's one more, Mr. Chairman. Under attendance, it should read George Theodoridis and not George Serenides.
Okay, very good. Any other changes to the minutes from the regular meeting, February 11th, 2021?
Sure. This is Bill Ford. I don't know what an accessor is, but I'm an assessor. It's ASS.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for that update. Okay. I'll call for a roll call vote of the minutes with the necessary corrections. Councilmember David Hooverman,
Aye.
Councilmember Keegan,
Yes.
Councilmember Saccinelli,
Aye.
Councilmember Revelous,
Aye.
Councilmember Theodoredis,
Yes.
Councilmember Kides,
Yes.
and Councilmember Burnett is a yes, so it's unanimous. So we'll make those updates with the necessary corrections. The next set of minutes to approve is the February 11th, 2021 Special Joint Finance and Claims and Board of Education Committee meeting. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes? Mr. Hooverman, thank you. Do we have any corrections or additions to these minutes? Yes, Mr. Hooverman.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, on 1, 2, 3, on the fourth page, the second to the last paragraph that starts with Mr. Huvelman. That paragraph, it should read, said these dialogues are important and need to be extended throughout the year by these two committees.
Okay, thank you.
One correction, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Yes.
Mr. Hooverman, yes.
Excuse me, if my name could be added to the attendance list. Tom Keegan.
Yes. Okay, very good. Any other corrections?
All
Again,
the,
correction on your name? No, your name
yeah,
is,
no,
Yes.
actually, I see the same mistakes were made in these attendees as well. My name, Council Huverman's name, like the same mistakes were all repeated here.
okay. So we'll ask we'll make a general note to the the person taking the minutes to make those changes across all 4 of the minutes. Any other changes to the minutes? I had one change, which is on this page where it says Mayor Rilling said there is a lot of information being passed. I think we need to add the word back and forth. Pass back and forth to complete that sentence. So with that, seeing no other changes, to move this along, I will, we can show of a raised hand for all those approving these minutes with the necessary corrections. Okay, it looks unanimous, so we will, these minutes are approved with the necessary corrections. The next set of minutes, February 18th, 2021, Finance and Claims Committee public hearing. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the public hearing? Okay, I see Councilmember Revelous has moved these minutes. Do we have any additions, deletions, or corrections? Again, actually, they spelled your name correctly in this one, Diana.
But I was looking at Dave, Councilman Huverman, isn't? But mine was right.
Right.
That's weird.
On this particular page, there is one correction I have, the 3rd paragraph down where it says, from the public hearing and noted that each speaker, that should be will, W-I-L-L, be given 3 minutes. So just add the W. Any other additions, deletions, or corrections to this set of minutes? Okay, hearing, seeing none.
I abstain.
That is
George.
George
Yes.
Theodoredis abstains. Okay, very good. We have one abstention, yes, from all other committee members, so these minutes have passed. And then finally, we have the minutes from February 18th, 2021 Finance and Claims Committee special meeting. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Hooverman moves the minutes. Do we have any additions, deletions, or corrections? Yes, Mr. Hooverman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the second page, first paragraph, Mr. Huebman thanked everyone who spoke tonight. Are you there yet? No. Keep
Yeah,
going.
let me keep going. These are all of the emails that came in that are part of the minutes. So
Page
now,
14.
here we go.
There you go.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I believe it says, yeah, page 6 of the minutes. So it's that paragraph. Mr. Huebman thanked everyone who spoke tonight. He said the comments were reflective of all the views on this subject.
Mm.
And then in the next paragraph, the last sentence, he said the taxpayers that spoke tonight understand the taxes will go up in order to support school programming.
Okay, very good. Any other additions, deletions, or changes to the minutes? Okay, hearing, seeing none, by raising of hands, all those in favor? Okay. Very good. So we will, those minutes are passed, so that completes the 4 sets of minutes. Thank you. We will now move on in the agenda to the claims report, narrative, and monthly tax collectors report. Lisa?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. For your information this evening, we do have your claims, and there is one special request that is not particularly interesting. It is a special request only by virtue of the dollar amount. It was a overpayment, and the dollar amount is in excess of $10,000. In this case, it's $59,465.15. So I do need a vote on that before we can issue the refund. The others are just standard refunds that we process without approval.
Lisa, could you provide a little narrative around this particular claim before we vote?
Yes, it was an overpayment that was made through the taxpayer has an escrow account, and I believe they changed escrow agents, and the payment needs to go back to their bank because it was paid in error. The other bank had paid it, so we don't want to collect twice on them.
Okay,
It happens a lot when people refinance, when companies refinance, but it's normally not, a vote is not normally needed because the dollar amount is not normally quite this high.
okay, great, thank you. So do we have a motion to accept the claims committee, monthly claims committee report for dated March 11th, 2021? Councilmember Revolus moves this item. Are there any questions? Quick roll call vote on this item. Councilmember Hooverman,
Aye.
Councilmember Keegan,
Yes.
Councilmember Sanchinelli,
Aye.
Councilmember Revolus,
Aye.
Councilmember Theodoridis,
Yes.
Councilmember Kides, and Councilmember Burnett is a yes, so it's unanimous. So we will move this item to the full council at the next meeting on Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021 for full approval.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the tax collector narrative report.
Okay. I don't, you, can you bring it up on your screen so that they
Sure.
could see it?
Mhm.
The narrative also accompanies the spreadsheet, so I'll just focus on the one. For the end of February, we were very, very, very pleased that we were coming in with regard to current taxes at 96.03%. $337 million collected through the end of February. That's really wonderful considering that we're in the middle of an extended grace period and our taxpayers still have until April 1st to pay. We're really not very far behind at all, less than 1.25% behind where we were last year. 94.7% of our sewer use levy of 16 something million collected there. So we're doing really well. As you know, they have until April 1st. So what we have done, we have decided to send a mini mailing this month. It actually went out yesterday, only to real estate accounts, because we were a little bit concerned about the fact that on April 2nd, we will be charging 6% interest. By state law, reverting the interest back to the original due date of January 1st. Our bills went out around the holidays. It didn't really cost us that much to do this mailing, only to real estate. But we were just sending a reminder saying to those who have not paid, your payment is due by April 1st. You're not delinquent yet, but we're just reminding you, please pay by April 1st, because if you pay on April 2nd, there's 6% interest. So that went out today. It's just basically a goodwill measure to try to remind people to pay on time. After April 1st comes and goes, we will still do a complete delinquent billing as we normally do at the end of every collection period, every installment period, to everybody, real estate, motor vehicle, business, personal property, everybody. That won't go out until probably the middle of April. I will try to file my lien continuing certificates first. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to do this mini mailing, is to alert people that very shortly after April 1st, we will be filing liens, because we're really trying to get caught up. This is a tax sale year for us, as you know, so we're a little bit hampered in our collection enforcement efforts because we have to wait really until after April 1st to do a lot of things that we normally would already be doing right now. So we're doing that. We're also doing some other enforcement. We're going to be issuing some warrants to our marshal. The marshals are starting to go around again. Our health permits, we work with the health department, and if there's an establishment that owes taxes that are more than a year late, they will not allow them to renew their health permit. So we're working on that. We did a wage garnishment recently. We've been working on that. We are trying to keep an eye on people coming in, and we noticed that there was a little bit more of a push for us to be open a little bit later. So we're going to be open starting on Monday, not from 9 to 1 any longer, but rather from 9 to 3. And we're going to reopen the window that we had in the lounge area so that we will have that little payment station open to the outside, in addition to our office being open as well. So people will have the choice of either just going to the walk-up window and paying there. If they have cash, they will have to still come into the building and go through the security checkpoint, have their temperature taken and so forth, but they can still proceed to our office. So we're really doing everything we can do to try to keep things going and to keep the revenue coming in. Springtime is a busy time. People start getting building permits. They're going to be registering vehicles because the motor vehicle department extensions are expiring. People come in to license their dog and things like that. So it's going to get busy, and we just want to be prepared. I think that's all I have to say about our current status of collection. I know I have the other item. I don't know if you want me to move on to that one or stop here for now. I have the Green Bank item as well.
Separate item. Before we move on to that, so the tax sale, just want to highlight that is now going to, at least it's planned right now, to take place August 16th as opposed to July.
Yes, thank you. It is. I moved it to August 16th because I think we need more time. We're just, because of this delay, because of the grace period extension, it's hard to get going on the sale because we're still in collection. So I moved it to August. I think it'll be fine. I think in terms of physical distancing, we're able to do the sale like we usually do. So we'll be starting to more in earnest on that, I would say within the next 3 weeks.
Great. Any questions on the narrative report? Okay, this report is for information only. So we can now move into item number 8 on the agenda, which reads as follows. Authorize Mayor Harry Rilling to agree to the Connecticut Green Bank Commercial Property Assess Clean Energy CPACE program assessment billing and collection change. Do we have a motion on this item? Councilmember Hooverman, thank you. Lisa?
Okay, thank you. What this is just a billing change for the state of Connecticut's what they call CPACE, which, as Councilman Burnett mentioned, it stands for Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy. The state created a green bank when Mayor Moshe was mayor. And what we did was we were authorized by the state to collect on their behalf from taxpayers who borrowed green bank funds and then used those funds to do energy efficient improvements on their properties. And they wanted the municipal tax collectors to collect the loaned money and remit it to the green bank. So we have been doing this on a semi-annual basis since the inception of the program. It's not taxes and it's not our money. We're just basically a collection agent on behalf of the Connecticut Green Bank. And we bill these installment loans at the same time as we bill real estate taxes. And there's an agreement on file in the land records to enable us to do this. The Green Bank notified us about a month ago that they don't want the municipal tax collectors to have to do this any longer. The Green Bank wants to take over the billing. And I don't have a problem with that. It's not costing us anything. It's not a revenue item because the money that I'm collecting is not our money. I just collect it on their behalf and give it over to the state. I'm like a middleman. But nonetheless, it needs to be approved by the Finance and Claims Committee and the council to authorize Mayor Rilling to sign the new agreement and extricate me from the responsibilities of collecting on their behalf commencing July 2021.
Okay. So there's no financial impact to the city. It's less work hours on the part of the city because we're not spending time collecting these dollars.
It was just a nominal amount of work for me to keep track of it and I used to send the bill certified mail and just keep track. There was originally one property, there's now 4. Norwalk was the first city in the state to participate in the program. So we thought of it as a good thing. It was a green initiative and so forth. But if they don't need us to do it any longer, if they have a different way of going about getting the money into them, we have no problem with it.
Great, thank you. Any questions about this item? Okay, I'll call for a roll call vote. Councilmember Hooverman,
Aye.
Councilmember Keegan,
Yes.
Councilmember Sacchinelli,
Yes.
Councilmember Revelous,
Aye.
Councilmember Theodoridis,
Yes.
Councilmember Kites,
Yes.
And Councilmember Burnett is a yes, so the motion passed, and again, we'll move this to the full council on Tuesday, March 23rd for full council approval.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. I'll see you next month.
Okay, take care.
Thank you.
This moves us to item number 9 on the agenda, which is to receive the Oak Hills Authority monthly financial statement for January 2020. And we have Joe Androsco, who is the Oak Hills Authority Treasurer, to give that update. Hello, Joe.
Yes. Hello, good evening, everyone. So the January financials, they're in the pack. January and February are really the kind of least compelling from a revenue perspective, I'd say, for Oak Hills.
Joe, do you want me to display it?
I can if you want. I'm actually not going to speak specifically to
Okay.
January because of the lack of kind of revenue in January. For context, in February, we actually did not have any rounds played. No revenue rounds, certainly. Just because of snow cover, and it just gives the course a little bit of time to kind of regenerate if it is nice. So these are the months in which expenses for things like fixed costs, like payroll, salaries, way outweigh the revenues that we have. January's in the pack, like I mentioned, net income negative by about 40,000. I'll give you the update on February because the story is so, the finances are so few transactions going through. We're able to get the actuals done a little earlier. It looks like it's also going to be about 40,000 negative. And, this is pretty par for the course, to borrow a phrase, for January and February. But the difference this year is really in our cash balance. As I said before, last year we had 18,000 in cash, which was buoyed by 190,000 in borrowing against our line of credit. And this year we have 267,000 in cash with zero borrowing. Just for context, that's a 439,000 improvement in our cash position. $439,000 improvement in our cash position year over year. So that sets us up pretty well for entering into the 2020 season, which begins really in April is when we start earning our revenue again. And it sets us up very well for our 2022 fiscal year, which begins in July. The other two topics that I want to hit are season passes, which I know have been of interest to this group. We increased our pricing on season passes by a large percentage. I don't remember exactly the percentage, but it was somewhere in the order of 35-40% on average across all the different packages that we had. We did this for a couple of reasons. We expected that the increased price would reduce demand and solve, to some extent, one of the issues that was created by the season passes, which was that season pass holders were getting the perception, even if it wasn't true, I can't prove if it was true or not, but the perception was that they were getting too far of a head start to book tea times. And by selling fewer of them, there's just fewer people vying for those spots. We also reduced the benefit for early tea time booking to 1 day. It had been 7 days in advance of the general public, and now it's just 1 day in advance of the general public. The good news is increasing the prices and selling fewer, thereby addressing the demand problem on tea times. We actually earned more revenue from them. So we earned, I think, about 120, I have the number here, 129,000, which is about 10,000 more than we earned from season passes last year when we sold about 20 more season passes. So the price increase did kind of reduce the demand, but we still were able to have a healthy enough demand to increase our revenue from those season passes. So I think overall, we're kind of solving a couple of problems with the increased prices. And, you know, we presented to our authority, the reasoning behind that was really to bring it more up to market rate. After we benchmarked it against just one course locally that kind of has the same thing. And, you know, the proof of the pudding is they sold. So, you know, we were able to earn the revenue. So a good news story there. The last topic I'll hit, and then I'll open, happy to pause for questions, is for the first time, certainly in the 3-year tenure that I've been on the authority, and certainly in the 1-year tenure that I've been treasurer of the authority, we've actually made good on a chartered promise to deliver a draft budget to the city. And we're, you know, it's still late, I understand that, but I do want to kind of highlight that we actually did so. It's a high-level budget. We delivered it to the finance department. I don't know if it was distributed to this group, but I will say it's available for anyone who's interested to on the committee to look at, I'm sure. The bottom line is that after we layered in some reasonable assumptions on revenue based on how we know the demand for season passes has gone, and also kind of the way last year ended. And we layered in some pretty, I'll say, conservative assumptions on expenses, which we don't necessarily expect to be the case. And then we added in known items like our debt service back to the city, which is increasing by 5 cents. So in the prior fiscal year, we were due $2 per revenue round to the city. Now we're due $2.05 per revenue round to the city. So after we layered in some of those known costs and things like that, we are still cash positive. So we expect to have a positive cash position in total of 92,000 through fiscal year 22, which means that we're able to deploy a capital budget or a capital contribution to a capital reserve during fiscal year 22 and actually plan for that. That's the first time in years that that's been possible. It's not a ton of money in the city context, but for Oak Hills, it's meaningful money that we can spend in kind of a not-for-profit format. We can spend that directly back into the course. We can put those profits directly into the course. It amounts to $93,000, which, you know, from being cash negative for years and years, that feels really good. In fairness, fiscal year 21 was also cash positive to the tune of about 70,000, or is trending that way. So it's building upon that and kind of increasing it, and hopefully it's a trend that we can keep going as we go through the future fiscal years. So, you know, I guess the bottom line, just to summarize, January and February financials, not all that interesting. The season passes, our cash position, quite good. Season passes, looks like the increases worked out the way we thought they would. And the draft budget for 21-22, which we'll continue to refine and deliver, you know, finally by June, is putting us in a continued good cash position. I'll pause for questions now.
Hey, Joe, this is David Huvelman. I have a question that I'm not understanding, and this precedes my tenure on the council, but how is the debt to the city structured?
So it's a completely consolidated debt. So all of the prior debts for building maintenance, for other operational things, have been consolidated into one facility, and we repay it in 2 ways over the course of many years. So I'll get to the term at the end. But we repay it in 2 ways. We pay $2 per revenue round as of currently, and that increases by 5 cents every fiscal year. So next year it'll be 205, the year after that is 210, et cetera, et cetera. And then once we have audited financials, we pay 1% of our gross revenue, our golf revenue, to the city. That amounted to about $15,000 as a lump sum payment for fiscal year 20. It'll probably be a little bit more for fiscal year 21 because we just had more rounds, we had more golf revenue. And hopefully it continues to increase. Like, we'll be happy to pay the city more for that lump sum if we've got more revenue. It amounted to about 67,000 so far for fiscal year 21. And when we start to get rounds and earn revenue in April, May, June for the end of fiscal year 21, it'll grow by that much, probably on the order of $6,000, $7,000. Now, the structure of that is if for some reason there's still any outstanding at the end of 2045, we owe a balloon payment. And so hopefully we're able to pay it off and maybe even advance some of the payment if we need to avoid that balloon payment. But that's kind of the structure and the term of our repayments.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any progress on the vendor for the restaurant?
Yes, of course. We are in the final stages of really authorizing the license agreement. So I won't go into too much detail because it's not final yet, but we are entering into a license agreement. We expect to have it approved by the authority at our next meeting next Thursday, a week from today, around this time. And then it'll be executed hopefully shortly thereafter, and they can really start looking into exactly what the build outs and capital improvements that are required and the things that they think they need to bring the kitchen up to code and the dining room up to their standards, just to make sure that it can be a successful rollout for the restaurant. It is a little bit later than we wanted, so it seems like, if you think of April 1st as the traditional start of the golf season, it doesn't seem like the restaurant will be 100% up and running and operational at that date. So it may be a little delayed, but we want to make sure that it can be done right and it can be done successfully. So we'll be happy to delay it a little bit to make sure that that's possible.
Greg, John here. May I ask a question, please?
Sure, yes, go ahead.
Hey, Joe, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. Well, I know the lease would need to go through the council, and I don't know if it'd be this committee would make most sense, the most sense if it did to come for approval. But you had mentioned that the terms of the agreement aren't locked in stone and still being negotiated. Is that correct?
It's correct. I mean, I think they're both parties are still kind of fine tuning it. I think it's probably 95% there, but yeah, that's still in progress.
Is it for a 1-year term?
Well, that's one of the items, but I believe it's for longer than 1 year. Yeah, it's expected to be for longer than 1 year.
I mean, what concerns me, and I don't know if that's the case, in the past, there was agreements that were being proposed that, I don't know, I mean, there's been so much back and forth, but they definitely benefited the vendor as far as payments and overall give from the city. I mean, do you have anything to expand on? I mean, should we be prepared to have a vendor with a very, beneficial agreement?
No. So I can tell you that the structure that we've set up increases our restaurant revenue about double, and gives us much better food service coverage for the entire course. So the way that we have it structured, it's actually I think the number is about double versus what we've had in prior years. So we feel like it's a much more equitable arrangement, and it's with it's with someone that we really think can be successful in that space.
Is it the same vendor as you had last year?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing that agreement. Thank you, Joe.
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions for Oak Hills? Okay, seeing none. Thank you for that update, and let's hope this week, with the great weather we've had, rounds have been spectacular.
Let's hope. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you, Joe. Okay, that moves us on to item 10 and 11 on the agenda. And Both of the items are related, but I know we have to vote on them separately, but we'll talk about them jointly. So item 10 is authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to terminate contract with Hilltop Securities, Inc. for project number 3986, financial advisory services for bond sale. Do we have a motion on that item? Councilmember Keegan. And item 11 is authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute a contract with Bill Lindsay at Millsack to provide financial advisory consulting services for the fiscal year 2021 through 2024 account noted. Do we have a motion on this item? Councilmember Keegan, thank you. And we have on the call the meeting, our Chief Financial Officer, Henry Dakowitz, along with Bill Lindsay, to speak on both items 10 and 11.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the materials, I sent a memorandum, which if you'd indulge me, I'll just read, and then I can explain, and Bill Lindsay could add to it. Bill Lindsay has been serving as Norwalk's financial advisor for 20 years, since 2001. For 18 years, he performed this service through a company called Independent Bond and Investment Consultants. In January 2019, that firm merged into Hilltop Securities, who assumed the contract we had. With IBIC's Hilltop's 5-year agreement with the city ending in the spring of 2020, the city conducted an RFP for financial advisor, and we were very pleased, and we entered into a new agreement with Bill Lindsay and Hilltop, selected a 4-year contract ending in June of 2024. Personally, I walked in the door, and within my first 6 months, I had to issue 3 series of bonds. 1 was new money, 2 were refundings. I inherited the relationship with Bill Lindsay, and he's a first-rate professional. We were successful with those 3 deals. This past year, we had another 3 bond offerings, and that's part of the reason why they were selected and renewed for another 4 years. Recently, earlier this year, Bill Lindsay and Hilltop parted company. Mr. Lindsay is now conducting financial advisory services through a firm called Munistat Services, Inc. The city would like to continue to engage the services of Mr. Lindsay as the city's financial advisor. I have had discussions with Hilltop. They understand our desire to continue to work with Lindsay, and they have agreed to work with us to ensure a smooth transition. We recommend, and Munistat has agreed, to enter into an agreement with the city on the same basis and the same terms and conditions, including pricing, with which we have our existing agreement with Hilltop, which would be a contract through June 2024 with 2 1-year optional extensions. Munistat has been in business since 1977, serves as municipal bond financial advisor to over 240 units of government in New York State. In calendar year 2020, they advised on over 150 transactions, totaling over $1.6 billion in par amount of securities. Since Mr. Lindsay opened Munistat's Connecticut offices earlier this year, over 50 Connecticut local governmental units have signed agreements to work with Munistat, including the towns and cities of West Hartford, New Canaan, North Haven, Manchester, and Branford. Munistat is a registered municipal advisor and is in compliance with rules and regulations of both the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board. Additionally, Munistat carries industry standard levels of insurance. I urge the Finance Committee and the Common Council to approve the mayor entering into a financial advisory contract with Munistat Services and terminating our agreement with Hilltop Securities. Bill Lindsay is here. He can make a statement. We can both answer questions, whatever your preference.
I guess the only, the question that I have, Henry, is if with ending the contract with Hilltop Securities, From a procedural standpoint, should we have gone out or created a new RFP before making a selection, or
I have checked, with
how should that be handled?
I checked with corporate counsel. They said it was up to me. I feel because we just did an RFP recently, that I feel it's appropriate, since we are entering into a similar agreement and we hired Hilltop because of Bill Lindsay. It's almost like a personal services contract. And we want the services of Mr. Lindsay if he's still offering municipal advisory services. And I don't think it's appropriate to go for another RFP. And corporate counsel was in agreement.
Thank you.
Bill, do you want to say a couple of words?
Sure. Thank you, Henry. Again, my name is Bill Lindsay, and I'm with the firm Unistat Services Incorporated. I've personally worked with the city for 20 years, and I very much look forward to continuing that relationship. Very happy with the platform we have at Unistat. Since we opened the Connecticut office, we've been able to sign the vast majority of our clients that we had worked with at Hilltop Securities. I think the number of municipal advisory clients as of today is 54, and we've got 64 clients who are signed for annual disclosure filings. And so, with your permission, we would very much like to continue to work with the city of Norwalk.
Okay, any questions before we move to a vote? Okay, hearing, seeing none, I'll call for a roll call vote, and this will be, we'll vote first formally on item 10, which is terminating the contract with Hilltop Securities. Councilmember Hooverman,
Aye.
Councilmember Keegan,
Yes.
Councilmember Sacchinelli,
Aye.
Councilmember Revelous,
Aye.
Councilmember Theodoridis,
Yes.
Councilmember Kites,
Yes.
and Councilmember Burnett is a yes, so it's unanimous on item 10. And now roll call vote on item 11 to execute a contract with Unistat. Councilmember Hooverman,
Aye.
Councilmember Keegan,
Yes.
Councilmember Sacchinelli,
Aye.
Councilmember Revelous,
Aye.
Councilmember Theodoridis,
Yes.
Councilmember Kites,
Yes.
and Councilmember Burnett is a yes, so it is unanimous. So this item both items will now move to the full council on Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021 for full council approval.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. I'm going to try to run back to the BET.
Okay.
Great.
That moves us to the final item on the agenda, item 12, which is discussion on the senior tax relief program. And we have Bill Ford, who was our tax assessor, with us to take us through where we're at with the senior tax relief program.
Good evening. Thank you all for having me tonight. So typically at this point, we would be receiving applications for the senior program, the elderly tax exemptions. The governor in January, just before our mailing of the applications, granted an executive order which eliminated the renewal requirement for our seniors, well, statewide. So there was no requirement for the seniors to refile this year. If you received the exemption 2 years ago, these exemptions file renewals every 2 years. So if you received it 2 years ago, the governor said you get to continue receiving it. We therefore adjusted our process. We mailed out a letter to all of our people that received the exemption, advising them there's no need to renew this year. However, we did advise them if they had a significant change to please file an application, because that's our only way to know that their income has changed. Due to COVID, we wanted to make sure that if anybody, the income limits for the program for the current year for the $1,500 tax credit are $57,900 income limit, and $71,300 for the $900 tax credit. So we wanted to get the information out to the public that if you happen to have lost a job or if there was a change in your financial situation, you could apply and possibly get the higher benefit. What we also did was we looked at all of the people who applied over the last 3 years that were rejected due to possibly income or other reasons. We mailed letters to all of those people, advising them of the program again, advising them of the requirements and the income limits. So the application deadline is May 15, and we will continue receiving applications through that point. Is there anything else anybody would like to know?
Bill, question on the exemption. So based upon the executive order, those individuals that were approved do not have to submit another application. Is that just for 1 year? Or is that for another 2 years that they do not have to submit an application?
So the governor last year passed this for all the people last year. He eliminates the renewal requirement for this year. So those people would be benefiting, from the way I'm reading it, for 2 years. So the people that benefited last year from the non-renewal requirement should file next year unless we have another situation. The program alternates each year. Different people file for it. So the ones that receive it 1 year, every 2 years they have to file, and the others receive it.
Are we doing any other additional outreach to, other than looking at who's been approved, who was rejected? Are we doing any other outreach to make sure the seniors are aware of the program?
So we have expanded the website considerably with more information. We are, one of my staff is in constant contact with the senior center, our employees in the city that work with our seniors. And we provide applications, we provide the documents so that they can receive it through them. And on various time periods, we do email blasts to different groups of people in the city.
Great, thank you.
If anybody has any other ideas, please let us know. We're willing to try different things.
Great. Any other questions or comments and thoughts related to the Senior Tax Relief Program? Which is a great offering to our seniors.
Yes, sir. Again, we will provide July, August time period when all the applications are in, reviewed, and put into the system. We'll provide the standard report showing the number of people receiving the benefit and the dollar amounts involved.
Okay, I don't see any other questions or comments. So thank you, Bill. Thank you for that update. And we hope the seniors in Norwalk take advantage of this offering, apply, and give us an opportunity to evaluate their status and hopefully bring some relief to them.
Yes, sir.
So
thank you all for having me.
Thank you. Item 13, which is motion to adjourn. Unless anyone else has any comments or any other items to discuss. Hearing, seeing none. So I think Council Member Revelous raised their hand for adjournment. So all those in favor show by the raising of the hand. And it looks unanimous. Great. So we adjourn as 7:59 p.m. Thank you. Have a good